Our second leading story now. The fight against corruption in Nigeria remains a major concern for the population, and with just about 10 days to the presidential elections, it is in the agenda of aspiring candidates' campaign programs. Incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari now says his resolve to fight corruption is unshaken. Speaking at the swearing-in ceremony of board members of the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, he acknowledged that corruption has negatively affected Nigeria's political, economic and social life. According to the president, the fight against corruption will remain a top priority in his government if given the chance to rule the country for a second term.
Absolument, Linette, et la lutte contre la corruption.
The fight against corruption is one of the spearheads of the first mandate of the representatives of the All Progressive Party. And while the latter boasts tangible results in the field, in Kano, a large commercial city in the northern Nigeria, the record of Muhammadu Buhari is not unanimous. Some residents are ready to vote for his main rival, Atiku Abubakar.
Le récit de William Baya.
Some residents of Kano, a major commercial city in northern Nigeria, have questioned the record of President Muhammadu Buhari, the outgoing president and candidate for re-election in the February 16 election. Some residents say they are ready to vote for the main rival, Atiku Abubakar.
People are suffering. You can see that the economy has fallen. There's high inflation, and life was easier before Buhari arrived. Now life is really hard. We need to change our leadership.
Kano remains one of the bastions of the All Progressive Congress APC, Buhari's political party, and despite a record that was judged to be below campaign promises in 2015, the incumbent president still has an important electoral base in the city.
Of course, Buhari did not deliver the expected results, but he has launched some programs that require continuity. If Buhari leaves office now, his programs will suffer, and the new president will have to start from the beginning.
As the election campaign continues in full swing in Nigeria, security concerns remain with the people of the country's second most populous city. They hope that the next president will succeed in continuing and completing the work to eradicate Boko Haram as promised by Buhari when he came to power in 2015.
Well, we now speak to Awal Musa, the Executive Director of the Civil Society and Legislative Advocacy Center in Abuja, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us in the program, Awal. With just days to the elections, incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari and his main challengers are focusing a lot on corruption. The recent suspension of the Chief Justice has also been seen as a big boost to President Buhari's fight against corruption. But what do you make of corruption in relation to the upcoming vote?
Well, I think the development clearly shows that the Nigerian president, is not different from the other African leaders, unfortunately, who they, hold on to power, who they also use all the available means to suppress and repress other, arm of government and also democratic institutions. So it is sadly, is not really different from other, African leaders who, like I said, do everything possible to make sure that they retain power, and then only, claim to be talking about corruption when it suits them, just to gain public, and international sympathy. But, in terms of policy and legislation and practice, there's nothing really much to see to, make, any argument, of how different the situation is with the current president of Nigeria. I think for me, we have a long way to go. And that's the way I see, the current efforts, in terms of the fight against corruption in Nigeria. It is largely at federal level, and it's also more of, even at the federal level, it has become like a talk show.
Awal Moussa, le président
Buhari was named by the AU as the anti-corruption hero, yet at the center of corruption scandals. Will the change in government guarantee a corruption-free Nigeria, in your opinion?
Est-ce qu'il est finalement question au Nigeria de rupture en termes d'exécutif, de changement de gouvernement lorsqu'on parle de corruption, de lutte anti-corruption?
Well, this is the opportunity we have lost because when this president came, there was so much expectation. There was so much, hope that at least we will make a remarkable progress in terms of the fight against corruption because of what, people believe the man had, stand for. But, whenever you are going to second election in Africa in particular, even if you say you are fighting corruption, if you are going for second, terms, you are likely going to do, business with criminals, with corrupt people. As I speak to you currently, currently there are a lot of people being investigated for corruption, issues. But once they become to the party of president, their cases are not being heard again. So, therefore, a lot of people who have been, investigated or even prosecuted for corrupt, practice, they simply move to the party of Mr. President and their cases is not heard any longer. So this is also undermining the integrity of the fight against corruption, and it is also destroying, the hope and confidence that Nigerians, they have, an international community that, the president, of Nigeria was going to, fight corruption. So I think maybe perhaps, if any serious leader in Africa wants to fight corruption, maybe he should just do one term.
Well, we have to leave it at that, Awal, but many thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. Awal Musa there, the Executive Director of the Civil Society and Legislative Advocacy Center, speaking to us from Abuja in Nigeria. You're still watching The Morning Call right here on Africanews. For more of these and other stories, head to our website, www.africanews.com. Still to come in the program, Egyptian King Tutankhamun is the only pharaoh whose tomb was not stripped by looters in ancient times. A century after his tomb was discovered, it is now under serious threat. Stick around to find out more on that. And former Cameroon captain Stéphane Bier has returned to play in China. The midfielder turned defender has been a free agent since ending his contract with French club Toulouse in January. More on this coming up shortly after the break.